Let's do the Zoom thing. Can we hear? Excellent. Fine for it. I'm going to move this down. Good. Everybody can hear me okay? Yes? Fantastic. Thank you very much for your attendance today and the sponsors and the organizers of this talk. I have never been to SREday, and I'm really excited to be here and really excited to talk to you. My name is Martin McLarnon. I work as a developer advocate for CoreLogix. I've been in tech for almost 30 years. And I even got my hair cut to come today. That's how excited I am. There are lots of QR codes all over my slides, and that's simply because there's just so much information. I have been about 25 years working within software and about 20 years working as a tech lead. And today's me talking about how my career as a tech lead has helped working with teams and what I would do to introduce observability to those teams. Like a lot of my talks, kicking that, it's not a good start. A lot of my talks, I start with the past and the present, and then I look at the future, because that's how I work with teams from a tech lead point of view. And a lot of the things that I do with teams are really those two things. The first one is solve problems. How do we solve problems, and how do we continuously improve? That's what I try to do with myself, and it's also what I try to do with team. So, this is a metaphor for what? Anybody want to take a guess? It's the spaghetti code and the code bases that we all have. And that we would all like to say that our application code is written in a different way, and it's not as bad as we think. But invariably, all of the teams that I work with, this is what we're presented with. And this spaghetti code does invariably cause an awful lot of problems. So 25 years ago, when I started as a software engineer, I had moved from the world of electronics into software, and I had hoped that the world of software engineering would have had the same standards and approaches that electronics had. But unfortunately it didn't. And I spent a lot of time looking around, trying to work out and gather information on how I could solve my problems better and continuously improve, and then introduce that to the teams that I was working with. And about 25 years ago, this idea and concept of shift left really came to the fore. And with it came a lot of ideas, test-driven development being one of them, and behavioral-driven development as well. And I've given many tech talks on TDD and BDD and how important it is for teams to adopt and to use. It had an immediate impact on me as a developer, but it also had an immediate impact on the teams that I was working with. It allowed us to have a different approach. And although at the time it was quite slow to adopt, because changing to writing your test first did affect our cadence, after a while we were able to speed up. The advantages then for adopting shift left became very clear, not only to our development team, but also to the senior leadership team above, because they started to see some real changes with the cadence and also around how fast we were able to deal with problems. So our problem-solving abilities and our continuous improvement was starting to get noticed by senior leadership team. So it became very obvious to me that this was a path to move forward. We also were then able to demonstrate very carefully to other teams within the organization that what we were doing had these benefits, and it had the effect of changing the culture of the teams around us that also affected the culture of the organization. And the mindset change that we had led to having a really positive effect on that organization. And as I moved into then the tech leadership side, and I started to develop this with other teams, it continued to improve all of the teams that I was starting to work on. And the consistency then that was there with the team that I originally started with was moving further and further along with the other teams that I was working on. And the development that we had with ideas started to affect other people as well. The issue then arose around about 2015 and 2016, when I noticed that there was a lot of complexity now being added into many different things, not only in our applications, but also within our infrastructures as well. The first application that I wrote, a web-based application, was very straightforward. It involved a little bit of user interaction where they entered some data. There was a bit of business logic behind. Something was persisted, and they got a product out at the end of it. It was a document that they had. The particular product that I worked on was for a government agent, and agents of that government agency had to have this particular document with them to do a certain thing. To come over here, I booked a flight with British Airways. Other airlines are available, of course. And I entered a few details. There was a bit of business logic. Some of my details were persisted and I got a boarding pass. Those two things are technically the same, but what we have done in the middle in the last 25 years is make all the bits in the middle really complex. Shifting left worked then, it continues to work now, but we need to add something on top of that. So if I was a tech lead and I'm working with a team of individuals who have never came across observability, this is how I would introduce it to them. So that they don't have to do this. I have been this dummy many times. I have pulled all-nighters, I have pulled weekends. I spent an entire week working a network problem with 3 individuals who I realized after day 2, none of us had showered for 2 or 3 days and we were just drawing on a whiteboard. After 5 days, we had 3 whiteboards and we had written out the entire network for what we needed to do. And it wasn't fun. It really wasn't. So I don't want anybody to have to bang their head off their keyboard. So I've got a team, I've got a group of individuals, and we want to talk about observability, and we want to talk about the origins of observability. And there's an academic answer to that goes about all the way back to the 1950s. But essentially, the idea of why we need observability is because of the complexity that we now have. And I always say to a lot of development teams, if you're not trying to find the best ways to solve problems and continuously improve, your competitor might be doing that. And if your competitor's doing that and you're not, you're immediately behind the curve. Observability in and of itself is actually very straightforward. An application is considered observable if you're able to identify what's going on the inside from its external outputs. And lots of people over the last couple of days have been talking about that. So it's a very straightforward principle to consider. So when you then shift left with observability, you get all of the advantages that I originally got when I started shifting left way back 25 years ago. This is an additional layer that we're adding on top. So your development team might have good practices and good policies in place. My suggestion is let's add to those so we can solve problems and continuously improve. So the instrumentation part then is considered to be quite straightforward, and we're going to look at OpenTelemetry. There's been lots of conversations about OpenTelemetry, but this talk is essentially about how you would approach dealing with a young team or a new team that has not came across observability before, and we're going to look at that. I mentioned the idea of a mindset change, and constantly having to change your mindset can be very difficult, but there are ways of being able to do that you can stand on the shoulders of other people and other giants that are allowing you to do that. So we've got a new team, we've got a tech lead, we've got an introduction to observability. The reasons why we want to do that and explain that to the team are all based on how we all get better together. And that's a really important thing. Observability allows us to be able to understand what's going on in our applications because we have data-driven insights coming from our very application. And if you use this within the software development lifecycle, you're preventing those vulnerabilities from getting out into production. And as a development team, understanding production awareness and production readiness is really important. Do we have any SREs in the room? Given this is SRE days, I'm assuming there's a few. So what's it like being an SRE when you've got a problem in production and you know it's something that's happened from the development team? It can be very frustrating. And we all are part of the same team. Every single one of us that works on a technology team should have in the forefront of our minds the idea that the product that we're making is going to be used by somebody else. So if we're all part of the same team, we all need to be driving in the same direction. And SREs do have to pick up the pieces. I honestly did not know what an SRE was until 2016. Obviously, the idea of SRE started in Google about 2003, 2004. But sometimes these new developments take time to filter through the other teams. When I started living in Northern Ireland, I was very far away from the west coast of the US, so it took quite a time for all of these ideas to arrive. So with observability in your application, the developers know what's going on, the SREs know what's going on, the DevOps guys all know what's going on, and we're all able to work together with these data-driven insights to be able to solve our problems. And that's where that ubiquitous language comes from. So OpenTelemetry, there's been lots of conversations about OpenTelemetry, and I do hope I'm not going to bore you to death by showing you what I'm going to show you about OpenTelemetry. It obviously is a project, an open source project that is part of the CNCF, the Cloud Native Computing Foundation. Many years ago, I worked as a product owner on an open source project, and it's one of the best 16, 17 months that I had within my career. It was absolutely and utterly fantastic. If you're not part of an open source community, think about joining one. You've got the technical background and you can help improve that project, and you can help improve other people who are working with it. As I said, the first time I came across observability was in and around 2016, 2017. And I was aware of open tracing and I'd heard of open census, but I hadn't really got into using it at the time. And whenever open tracing or open telemetry, really formed as a proper project, that's when I started to notice it. And the robustness now of the open telemetry project is well understood. You're talking about tens of thousands of hours of engineering acumen that has gone into building that. You don't have to do that. It's already been done for you. You just need to be able to instrument it. And if I'm working with a development team, I don't have to think about writing a framework for logging and monitoring and tracing. I just need to instrument my code based on really good engineering. As it says there, the OpenTelemetry project really has become the de facto standard. And standards are really important. And again, going back to my world of electronics, where everything was standardized, I was a member of the Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers. And they are the guys that were designed all of the standards that we have around the networks that we are aware of. Go to any data center anywhere in the world, take a picture of it and go to another data center, and it'll look exactly the same. Although if you're in a data center and you took a picture, you might be in a lot of trouble. So don't do that. Carly mentioned signals earlier on. I'm not going to go through that because she did a fantastic job of explaining that. So thank you very much for saving me about 20 minutes of this talk. I just realized half my talk's going to be over because Carly's already gone through it for us. So thank you very much to Carly. This is going to be the fastest talk I've ever actually done. So I think there was about the next 5 slides. Carly's already covered normally, so I'm going to argue. So one of the things that Carly did mention was actually about the vendor neutrality, and that is really important. So what it allows you to do is instrument your code and not worry about the back-end provider. Obviously, I'm here representing CoreLogix, and we're a full-stack back-end observability platform, but your choice is your choice. And for me, it is the absolute future of observability. I am absolutely convinced that if you have got observability inside your application, you're going to have an advantage and you're going to be able to solve your problems and you're going to be continuously improving. So, OpenTelemetry, which we've already had loads of talks on, but we're going to do it. This is the architecture from the actual OpenTelemetry website, and it is very straightforward. You instrument your code, you fire all of your data in the general direction of the OTel collector, and then it shoots stuff off into general directions. And that is the actual technical terms that you would be using. What you can see here is the architectural structure of the demo application that OpenTelemetry has provided for you free of charge on the GitHub repo. And you can take that repo, clone it down onto your machine, and actually look at how OpenTelemetry have instrumented the code bases for all of the tech stacks that you can see out there. A quick question, has anybody or is anyone using a tech stack that they don't see up there? So everybody here is using a tech stack that's somewhere on that board. So what that means is that if your team is not or has not found observability yet, you have the instrumented tech stack there already done by fantastic engineers. So if you're working with Java or if you're working with C++ or C#, you can do what I'm about to explain to you and get started. So the demo application, which we're going to look at the minute, effectively takes signals and traces all from the left-hand side of those technology stacks, passes it through OpenTelemetry, and shoots it out the other side. Now, the OpenTelemetry demo comes with 2 back-end providers. One is Prometheus and one is Jaeger. I'm assuming everybody's heard of Prometheus and Jaeger. Carly's nodding, which I would hope that she would do. Because if she doesn't, they're going to have a lot of explaining to do when she goes back. And of course, we have CoreLogix, which is a back-end provider. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch off this and move to here. And this is going to be the OpenTelemetry site. This is an absolutely and utterly fantastic resource. If you're new to observability, this is the place where you really want to start. You want to come to telemetry.io, read through the documentations and look at the demo and look at what it can do for you. So we're a new team, we're new to observability. We come in here, we clone the repo down and we follow the instructions. Now, for complete clarity, I have already this running in Docker. So I've cloned it down and I've kicked it off. I have made one change, which I'm going to show you very quickly, just so there's no secrets. So how clear is that? Can you see that? You can see that. Okay. I haven't got my glasses on, so I can't see it. So what I have added to, this is the configuration for the hotel collector. Basically, it just uses this YAML file to do all the gubbins that it does. I've added that API key will be changed by the end of today. So don't think about taking a picture of that and thinking that you're gaining something. The other thing that I've changed is in the service pipelines. I have added the CoreLogix exporter into that. So that means that this current demo that is running is exporting signals to both Prometheus and to Jaeger and also to CoreLogix as well. So literally what I've done, gone on the GitHub, cloned the repo down and made a very small change in the hotel collector and just hit run. So we've got a young team, onboarded, juniors, even intermediates, or maybe even people at architect level who are new to observability, are now able to very quickly see actual instrumented code and what it looks like. C# project, that's how you add the instrumentation to it there. That's how you add those packages. If you're using Go, something similar as well, those packages are all there. Again, I don't have my glasses on, so I can't really see that. So our new team has downloaded our demo and we have it running. And this is what the actual web front end, it's a microservice e-commerce site. It's obviously fake. It doesn't do anything. And it's based on astronomy, which is very cool because I'm a bit of an astronomy nub. So you can use this website to come in and just filter about down here and add different bits and pieces and actually see that this is a real live proper site that works. And that's all super new place in order. The other wonderful thing that it comes with is this feature flags. And these feature flags actually get you to generate errors inside the application. So you've got instrumented code. You've got a web application that you're able to use and see, and you're also able to turn feature flags on that generate real errors inside it so that you can look at your back ends and you can see the problems and you can determine then what a metric looks like, what a trace looks like, and how it is connected back then to your code. It also comes with this load generator, which is also currently running, so you can see quite a lot of failures. And the reasons why I've got this kicked off is so that whenever you look at the two back ends, you can see these problems. So we have Jaeger, which is, as I said, one of the back ends, and you can look at all the different tracings in different places. Yeah, I've got my glasses on, I should put them on. Quick find traces. So you can go in here as a new developer and you can see the errors. You can look at what a trace would look like and be able to read through that. And it's an amazing tool for teaching what OpenTelemetry is and why we should be using observability. We have Prometheus, which you can use to do all manners of things. This is a trace, which would be very handy for SREs, because that's telling you what the 75th or 95th percentile is. What did I type in? Oh, it's the 95th percentile. So here, what you're able to do is look at the latency of a particular API and then turn on one of the feature flags and see the difference between them. So as a new developer, you're able to understand what it would look like as an SRE or what an SRE would see on the other side. So it's that collaboration within the team. And it's coming from the developers. So the SRE team can work with the development team to tell them that's not what that should look like. Your metric should be, whatever your SLO is, it could be 200 milliseconds. This, of course, this is what it looks like in CoreLogix. If I hit the refresh button on that, we'll have our traces here as well. But we will have, if we change some of these things in the last 5 minutes. So CoreLogix just brings it all together. It's a full stack observability platform, which means you don't need to go to Jaeger and Prometheus and try and connect them all together. I'm here to talk about OpenTelemetry and not necessarily to talk about CoreLogix. So let's hit this back again at our slideshow. And go to here. So the development team is new to observability and they want to start instrumenting from day one. And this is the thing that they can do. They've got an idea, we've got a plan, we know what we're doing, and we're going to work with a particular project that has literally tens of thousands of hours of engineering acumen. So we're looking forwards then to our development team. We're going to take our observability and we're going to add it on top of our approach to shift left. So we're evolving shift left We're keeping our testing in place, but we're adding observability on top of it as well. And what we're doing there is collaborating more with our DevOps team, more with our SREs. And if you're a CFO, you will want to know that your team's using this, because it's the advantage that you're going to have possibly over your competitor. And as a CFO, if you understand that your competitor does have an observability strategy, you will want one as well. The QR code on that slide takes you to the OpenTelemetry page in Coralogics, and it explains basically everything that I've gone through today. How to integrate OpenTelemetry with Coralogics. It's SREday, and we absolutely love to talk about Kubernetes. I spent all day yesterday going to different talks talking about Kubernetes because I absolutely love Kubernetes. This gentleman here is Chris Cooney. He's one of my colleagues. He's an absolutely fantastic individual, and he's carrying out 2 webinars on observability and Kubernetes. That's for part 1, and then part 2 is coming out in a couple of days' time. Chris and myself and some of the other DevRels and a lot of the Coralogics tech will be at KubeCon next week. Really looking forward to that. We're one of the sponsors of KubeCon. If you're going, please do come and see us at booth N511. Please, can I ask you to scan the QR code, because whenever you scan that QR code, it's going to record that I was actually here and I actually gave this talk. So that's one of the important things that kind of needs to happen, so that I don't look as if I just was hanging about London for the day, which would be really great. I'm 2 minutes short of time because Carly helped me fast forward all of that, which was really cool. Thank you very much for your attendance. Thank you very much for listening to me. If anybody has any questions on any of this, or if I've said anything that you totally disagree with, please do shout. So thank you very much for your time.
All right, time for questions.
Any questions? Going once? I can't actually see anybody with that wide.
Okay, one in the back. Let's go.
It's giving a talk to a bright light.
So I've come here with no research on what you do or your company. And from what I see, where do you stand? Is it closer to an APM tool, or essentially it's a very newbie question, but are you anything like what New Relic or Dynatrace or Datadog do?
Are you asking the question about Coralogics?
Yeah, about Coralogics, yes.
Yeah, if it's a Coralogics specific question, you can grab me afterwards and we'll have a chat about it.
Sound good. Appreciate that.
Okay.